What's up, everyone? My name is Deshaun, and we are back with yet another Yap Sesh. We are just chucking along until we have a real following. So, yeah, a little bit of housekeeping. I actually do have a podcast name now, so that's exciting. I will not be sharing it right now, but in the future, when there's a real following and demand, uh, I'll get that information out there. But for now, we're just yapping away, and we'll continue with the yap sessions for now. Today we are going to be talking about black magic design, black magic cinema cameras. No black magic editors though, because we don't have time for that. Anyways, let's get into it. So the first thing is I want to show off this little rig I got going on right here. Um, I don't know why I want to start with this, but I am just to get it out the way. But my first topic is actually going to be about the Cinema Camera 6K, so it all ties in. But I did want to just show off the rig a little bit, show what I've been working on. I I'm gonna nerd out real fast, just real quick about this little battery setup I have. So my favorite thing about the Blackmagic camera is that you have like this built-in screen, but the only problem is when you put a V mount on it, most people tend to block the screen. So what I nerded out and did is I calculated how much distance I'd need from a base plate to the bottom of this, like, so basically the distance, but I didn't have this base plate at the time. So I just calculated like at what height could I have a base plate and a V mount plate underneath where the bottom of the screen starts. And so I literally went on Amazon and searched like the dimensions of like every camera base plate ever. Until I came across this Tilta one. I'm pretty sure this is a universal base plate. I don't think it was to a specific camera rig. I can't exactly remember. But with this little extra like riser that comes with this Tilta base plate, it just worked out perfectly. So yeah, I thought that was cool and thought I'd share. Just cause like I'll get back to it, but I have another idea of how to make this more efficient. But yeah, and I have a top handle solution idea that didn't work out the first try, but I think I figured it out and the parts are on their way. So then I'll do like a full rig build of this. Anyways, so the reason why I'm bringing up the Cinema Camera 6K is because it now has autofocus. Obviously, you probably already know that. But I thought it was interesting because I bought this camera right after the price drop of $1,000, and so it was $1,500, right? So I commented this on Kofi Ubo's video about the autofocus as well. Like for $1,500, I got a full frame cinema camera with very cheap media that now has autofocus. To put that into perspective, I'm shooting on the Lumix S5 II right now, and even though I traded for it, used prices were like $1,400. So to get that for the difference of $100 is pretty cool and awesome. I mean, unfortunately, it is no longer $1,500, but if you were one of the few who pulled the trigger, you're probably sitting pretty right now. Um, even though I was owning this camera, it felt obsolete really quickly. I mean, considering the Pixis was announced several months after I bought it, and then now we have the Pixis 12K, which is insane. um, it was kind of like I was kind of taken back. Like, does this camera even matter anymore? Which is kind of dumb to think in a way, because it's like it's not old. It has beautiful quality. It's lightweight. It's similar to owning an FX3, even though an FX3 is like even smaller and more versatile and da da da. But it's along those lines, especially if you kind of put like the Pixis camera as like the FX6. This would kind of be like the FX3 to the Pixis, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how I feel when I use it. Honestly, I feel like, I mean, even if I owned an FX3 and I was using it for like running gun work, I'd still have to put a V mount battery on it. I'd still have to, have a top handle solution, whether it was the XLR handle or maybe I bought an extra handle. Maybe I'd need a side handle as well. I'd need rods and a follow focus anyway. Um, so I mean, it's genuinely really similar, but I still believe that the FX3 is more versatile than this. Um, so yeah, I think it's honestly a blessing in disguise. But I do want to touch on the autofocus itself. There's been multiple people who have already come out and tested it, and the only thing I'll add to the conversation is I did an autofocus test, but I didn't really record anything, to put out, so I don't have any footage to overlay. But I think the goal of the autofocus with Blackmagic is to basically unlock the true purpose of these cinema cameras, I think, and it is to be for solo creators for the most part. I think with the introduction of the Pixis and the 12K LF, I think they're trying to do get their cameras into more productions, and that's why they're moving this way, and which I love, by the way. But I think it's interesting when you put into context the Cinema Camera 6K, because this now becomes like I like the best camera for like someone who wants to start out in cinematography, because you have access to the ability to learn how to color grade raw footage. You have a 6K resolution that's a bit future proof, because people still deliver in 1080p, and most people don't even know the difference between 4K and 1080p. So it's nice to have that 6K to when even 4 or 5 years from now, if you own the camera that long, like you could still, that 6K resolution is still going to be beneficial to you. And then also, it's a bit of a heavy camera, I will be honest, once it's rigged up, but it's still not like an FX6 rigged up, like, or a Komodo. I'd say an FX6 is probably heavier than a Komodo rigged up, depending on what you put on it. But still, it's still relatively light compared to like a bigger camera, cinema camera that you do use, which is still nice, even though it's not as light as like an FX30 or an FX3 or even a Lumix camera for that matter. But it's still relatively light to be able to function and move and work with fast-paced projects. That's what I'm trying to say. And going back and digressing back to the autofocus, I would like to believe that the purpose of the autofocus was to enhance the process of being a solo creator. And obviously the autofocus is in beta. It's probably not it's definitely not the best autofocus you can have right now, but I think with time and firmware updates and upgrades and things like that, the autofocus will get better. I don't know if it'll ever be to the point of like being able to like shoot sports stuff with it, who knows. But also I believe that if these cameras are designed for the solo filmmaker, someone who's trying to become a cinematographer, someone who wants the picture quality to put in the work into spec projects and lower level projects with like business to business, etc., the autofocus is probably going to get to a point where it is usable for interviews, b-roll shots and stuff like that. And so I think that is the intention, but I don't know, from what we hear from Blackmagic employees, like they seem to be wanting to be competitive. So I'm not gonna put it past them to at least attempt to have the best autofocus in the game. And so next, I kind of do want to talk about the Pixis, but before I do, I just want to touch on Blackmagic's approach to our filmmaking, or I guess their business model that also and helps our filmmaking process. I love what they're doing, honestly. I think it's interesting to see a company who is specific about price point over features. Or I guess, yeah, price point over features. It's really interesting because obviously I don't know the inner workings of like Sony, Lumix, Canon. Like, I don't know how they run, but what I'm starting to see from Blackmagic is they just want to hit a price point, put as many features as they can to get that camera to that price point, and put it out. Like, and whatever happens. Whoever buys it buys it. We're kind of just gonna move on to the next thing, right? And it's really interesting to see because I mean the Pix's 6K, had it been out a year, I think. No, yeah. Well, I mean, it was announced a year at NAB last year, and then I don't know that it shipped right away. So, what, like 10 months of the camera, maybe 9 of like people actually getting it, probably even less than 6 months of people actually like really, really aren't learning and working with the camera. So for them to just drop the 12K and then just add autofocus to this, it just kind of seems like they're just gonna continue to get better and better and just give you products pretty much. And so I love that. I genuinely love that. I like their aggression towards just supply and demand pretty much. And I like the innovation that they're putting into the work, and I have an idea to help this camera be better, but I will get to that in a second because I did want to talk about the 6K, the Pixel 6K and 12K a little bit. Um, their prices with the tariffs and things like that, their prices have been affected, but I'd argue that even with tariffs, the prices are still pretty sweet. I mean, when you look at the FX3, which was 3400, I believe, like 3400, to for the Pixels to be $100 less than that, um, it's pretty freaking cool. I'm not gonna lie. Even though it was 200 less than that before tariffs, and if tariffs were to go away, I don't know if the price will drop or not. Who knows? But if they were and it went back to under 3,000, that'd be even doper. But yeah, and then when you think about the 12K, I honestly was expecting the 12K to be like 7 grand. So to see the price that they released it at NAB, and then even with the tariffs for it to still be less than 6 grand is pretty dope. Now, would it be nice to get it at 5? Absolutely. And I'm sure they're gonna try to figure out a way, even continuing from what they've already done. They're gonna do their best to try to get it back to that $5,000 mark. But boy, is that crazy. That it's a game changer regardless. I think there may still be a place for internal ND. Now, I don't think so. I think if there were going to be internal ND in the Pixis series of cameras, I feel like it would have come in the 12K. I'm not gonna completely write it off the table, but I don't think internal NDs will come. But I don't know, man. Blackmagic's been so innovative recently. I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow figured out how to get internal NDs into a Pixis, which I would be interested to see if they did somehow get internal NDs, if it would still be available in L mount. I think if they do pull off internal NDs, it'll probably be with the locking EF or the PL mount. But who knows? Maybe they'll get an L mount internal ND system. I would be interested to see if they could try, if they didn't do like a full electronic ND. I'd be interested to see if they could do similar to the new Venice system that was released, where you have a slot for hard stop ND. I think that would be interesting as well. If not like a full electronic ND system, because I feel like that could bring keep the cost low, because then you just you'd have your slot for your clear and the other density the density intensities, and then you wouldn't and then maybe if they created if they were able to sell the in like an ND kit with the camera, or you could buy the camera and then buy ND separately, or something like that. I think that potentially could be a fix to keep the cost low, instead of like a variable ND inside the camera, or electronic, or uh revolver ND, some, I don't know, just some, I'm just spitballing something that could potentially keep the price low. And I think if Sony's watching, I think they should incorporate that into an FX3 too. So yeah, that'd be really cool. The last thing I want to touch on before we get out of here is this camera right here. I'm getting excited and I need to calm down, but I have two ideas that I think could make this camera interesting, and also future Blackmagic cameras interesting. And they tried to do it, and I think it'll work, but they added the Pixis top handle with a record button, and the audio, and then the rocker handle for like broadcasting. I'd be interested to see premium Blackmagic accessories. And basically what I mean is, Brandon Washington, I think it's been like 2-3 years now, but he had this B-roll clip of him holding, I believe it was a Red Raptor with the outrigger handle, B-mount battery, top on camera monitor, just like holding it, filming golf or something. If you ask me, red camera with the outrigger handle, V-mount plate, and monitor is like one of the cleanest run and gun setups you can have. Like, I don't care what you do to an FX3. I don't care how you build up a FX6. Like, that outrigger handle, battery, and monitor that goes into the camera is one of the cleanest run and gun setups you can have. Like, it's expensive. Not most people could afford it, but like, it's so clean. And I think maybe not with the Cinema Camera 6K because of its form factor, but I'd be interested to see more premium accessories, like similar to, I mean, at this point, Nikon on Red, you might as well just rip them off and make your own outrigger handle. You know what I'm saying? or even like a more robust top handle. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen the Pixis top handle in person, but from the looks of it, it looks like something you could just break. I'm gonna be honest. I'm probably wrong, but I'm pretty strong though too, so you never know. But I would be interested to see like an actual like robust top handle that you could put, maybe not on this, but like a Pixis or the 12K LF, something that like even the FX6 top handle. Like, I've seen so many people with FX6s who have broken top handles. So obviously it's not just a Blackmagic thing. Like, I mean, I've seen broken C70 top handles. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, these top handles just aren't, most of them aren't great. And maybe that's why you have like the wooden camera and, Condor Blue people making these better top handles and lining their pockets because of it. So maybe not. Maybe they won't. But I think something like similar to an outrigger handle would be really cool, especially with like a record button. I don't really necessarily like the rocker handle that they released. It as someone who works in broadcast, I I don't want to really feel like I'm holding a camera that I do at work. So, but that's just me. I think that'd be really interesting. And then my second idea is to allow the Pixis monitor to work with the Cinema Camera 6K, because what a lot of people run into, and I think it would be better, is most people, when they put a V-mount battery on, they block this, right? They block the monitor. Or in my case, I figured out how to do it and not block the monitor. And I would enjoy a monitor up here that has camera control. And I know like there's a port keys one. So I mean, I could just get that. But at the same time, I don't know. I'm a big fan of products from the camera manufacturer. That's why Red is really cool. Um, but I know there's that company that like was like taking your V mount plate and putting it here and your monitor up here. I don't know how they're doing. Anybody checking them recently? But yeah, I'd love to see compatibility with the Pixis monitor. I know they did it for the micro broadcast little blackmagic camera, so I know it's possible, right? Those are the two things that I'd ask of Blackmagic if anyone from Blackmagic was to see this. And maybe could I get a Pixis? Maybe. I don't think I'm there yet, but we'll see. um yeah, that those are two things that I think would make this camera better. I do like the grip that's on this Cinema Camera 6K, so I don't know if I add a side handle, but I mean, eventually I am wanting to get a Pixis eventually, so I'd like a decent side handle from there. And it was so funny. I was watching James Jackson's James Jackson's live, and someone had brought up something like similar about like a nicer side handle, and he said something like just buy one from Amazon. And I just thought that was so funny, and I laughed so hard. But I definitely agree that Blackmagic should try to release premium accessories if they're going to stick with the mid-sized box camera. I think people would be willing to pay for uh first party products that are in line with the camera they're buying. I mean, yeah, I don't think I'm alone in that. With that being said, I have nothing else for you guys. I am working on two different type of videos for the Sinners movie that I saw. uh I'm really excited, really excited to talk about Sinners. So that'll be coming soon. And also podcast, actual, an actual name, and I'll stop being a poser. And yeah. But anyways, it was nice talking to you guys. I hope you get home safe. Hope you have a great day, and keep doing the thing.